Ka-chung, 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 ka-chung. Welcome to the show. It is I, Rev the Rev. I ain't no vicar. Yes. Welcome to the show. We have not one but two things to talk about, so we may go over the half an hour. Ooh, blimey bishop, yes. So I'll start the normal shenanigans of, if you enjoy the show, please hit that like button. It's I'm told great things will happen the more that like button is hit, and if you haven't done so already, and you'd love to see some more of my shows, please hit that subscribe button. And especially when you want to know when the videos are coming out, hit that bell. Ring that bell. Yes. Ring that bell. So yes, we're going to start today. Start today with some funny jokes. Now I've been doing my little story jokes. I'm going to continue along that way. So you have to bear with me. So a woman brings a very limp duck into a veterinary surgery. As she lays her beloved pet on the table, the vet puts a stethoscope to the bird's chest and listens carefully. A moment later, the vet shakes his head and says sadly, "I'm really sorry, ma'am, but your duck Puddles has passed away." The woman becomes quite distressed and begins to cry. "Nee!" "Are you sure?" she says with tears fluttering from her eyes. "Yes, ma'am, I'm sure." The vet responds, "Your duck is definitely dead." It's like a parrot sketch, isn't it? Hey, how can you be so sure? The woman protests. I mean, you haven't done any testing on him or anything, have you? Perhaps he's just stunned or in a coma or something. The vet rolled his eyes and then turns around and leaves the room. A few minutes later, he returns with a Labrador retriever. The duck's owner looks in amazement. The Labrador stands on its hind legs, puts his front paws on the examination table, sniffs around the duck from top to bottom. He then looks up at the vet with sad and shakes his head. The vet pats the dog on the head and takes it out of the room. A few minutes later, the vet returns with a cat. The cat jumps on the table and delicately sniffs at the bird from its head to its feet. After a moment, the cat looks up, shakes his head, meow softly, and strolls out the room. The vet looks at the woman and says, "Look, ma'am, I'm really sorry, but as I said before, it is most definitely a duck that is no longer of this world. Your duck is dead." The vet then turns to his computer terminal, hits a few keys and produces a bill, which he hands to the woman. The duck's owner, still in shock, looks at the bill and sees it's $150. This is in America, by the way. This American. $150 just tell me my duck is dead, she shrieks indignantly. The vet shrugs his shoulders and says, "I'm sorry, ma'am. If you take my word for it, the bill would have been £20. However, with the lab report and the CAT scan, it is now $150. So this was followed by an elderly man who had owned his large farm in Louisiana for many years. Right at the back of the farm, there was a large pond that was ideal for swimming. The old farmer fixed it up real nice with picnic tables, horseshoe courts, and some apple and peach trees. One evening, the farmer decides to go down to the pond and to look it over as he hasn't been down there for a while. Before setting off, he grabs a 5-gallon bucket as he decides he'll bring back some fruit. As he nears the pond, he can hear voices shouting and laughing with glee. Clearly, someone is having a good time. As the farmer gets closer, he can see a bunch of young women who are clearly skinny dipping in this pond. He makes the women aware of his presence, and immediately they all swim over to the far end. One of the women then shouts, "We're not coming out until you leave, mister." Tom replies, "Lady, I didn't come down here to watch you swim naked or make you get out of the pond. You carry on." The wily old timer then holds up his bucket and says, "I just came down here to feed the alligators." Now, Bill. Sorry. Now, Bill is at the funeral of a high school friend in Manhattan. We're covering America all over the place. All standing in the graveyard, gathering their thoughts after the coffin had been lowered. And Bill knows Jim, another old friend from his high school days. "Hello, Jim," says Bill. "Hello, buddy. It's been a long time. How are you doing?" says Jim. Bill responds positively. He's puzzled as why Jim is carrying an attaché case at a funeral. "What's in the case?" asks Bill. "Ah, this is the tool of my trade," says Jim. "What do you mean? What tool is it?" asks Bill. "It's a high velocity rifle," says Jim. "Now, why would you need a high velocity rifle?" asks Bill. "Because I'm a hitman," says Jim. "Dream on, you're janking my chain, surely," says Bill. "I'm serious," says Jim. "I made my living as a hitman. Take a look." With that, he opens his attaché case to show he doesn't need to have a high velocity rifle complete with telescopic sight and silencer. "Sure," says Jim. With that, he assembles the rifle, fits the telescopic sight, and then passes it over to Bill. Bill lifts the rifle to his shoulder and peers through the telescopic sight. "Wow, this is amazing. I can see everything so clearly." "Impressive, eh?" says Jim. "Yes, sir. I can see right across Central Park. I can even see my own apartment on Central Park West," says Bill. "Wait a minute. I can see right through my bedroom window, and I can see my wife having sex with my neighbour." "Really?" says Jim. "Yeah, really," says Bill. "How much you charge for a hit?" "Well, I cost $10,000 per shot with the telescopic sight. I only ever need one shot to hit the target," says Jim. "Right," says Bill. "I've two. I want you to shoot her right through the head, and I want you to shoot him in the genitals." So Jim takes the rifle, puts it to his shoulder, peers down the lens of the telescopic sight, and carefully starts taking aim. However, he then seems to take an age, and he starts waving the rifle barrel around and starts adjusting the line of sight. As he waits, Bill starts getting increasingly agitated as he thinks what's going on in his apartment. "What's going on now?" he asks, quickly freaking out. "What are they doing? Why are you taking so long? Why are you hesitating?" "Have patience, my friend," says Jim. "I'm trying to save you 10 grand. there's, there's, uh, yeah. Trying to save you 10 grand. Now, Jack is a cowboy. Yeehaw! A cowboy working on a long ranch in a remote pasture in Wyoming. One day, as he's overseeing the livestock on the ranch, a brand new 7 Series BMW Top Gear must be filled there. Suddenly advances towards him, creating an enormous cloud of dust in the process. The car stops, and the driver is a young man in a brownish suit, juicy stews, Ray-Ban sunglasses, and a USL tie. He steps out of the car and says to the cowboy, "If I tell you exactly how many cows and calves you have in your herd, will you keep your calf?" Jack looks at the man, opposite a yuppie. He then looks at his peaceful grieving animals and responds calmly, "Yeah, why not?" The yuppie then whips out a very impressive iPhone 11 Pro smartphone from his pocket and begins to surf his NASA website. Simultaneously, he uses a GPS satellite to get the exact coordinates of his location. He then feeds out to Google Earth to capture a high-resolution image of this location. The young man then opens a digital image in a Photoshop and exports it to the image processing facility in Langley, Virginia. Within seconds, he receives an email to his iPhone 11 Pro to confirm that the image has been processed and the data captured and stored. He then accesses an MS SQL database through OPT, this is technical jargon, ODBC connected Excel spreadsheet, and after a few minutes receives response. Finally, he uses an AirPrint printer located in his card to print out a full 150-page report. He then turns to Jack, hands in the report, and says, "Sir, you'll see from the executive summary that you have exactly 1,586 cows and calves." That's right, says Jack. I guess you can take one of my calves. Jack then watches with amusement as a young man struggles to get the animal into the trunk of his car. After a minute or two, Jack says to the guy, "Hey, if I tell you exactly what your business is, will you give me my calf back?" The young man thinks for a second and he says, "Yes, why not? You're a congressman for the US governor," says Jack. "Wow, that's correct," says the yuppie. "How did you guess that?" "No guessing required, son," Jack responded. "You showed up here even though nobody called you. You want to pay for an answer I already know. The question I never asked. You use millions of dollars worth of equipment trying to show me how smart you are, and you don't know a thing about how ordinary working people make a living. Or how about cows for that matter? If you did, you know that this herd is actually a flock of sheep. Give me back my dog." Woof, woof, woof. it's, 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 um, uh, yeah. See, that was funny. That was funny. And my missus, she's missed out on the joke. She's missed out on the joke. So, yes, after all that madness of the jokes, as I said, we've got a couple of subjects we're talking about today. Just, short and sweet, but you know, we get there. And before we get on to the Illuminati, the Illuminati, we're going to talk about the United Nations. Now, trust me, we'll be doing the main event, the main feature after this. Are we ready? Are we ready? It will begin. Blah 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 blah. Blah 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 blah. You with me? Right, everybody will begin. The United Nations is one of the most important bodies active in the world right now. Few other organisations seem to give representatives from almost every territory on Earth. And here is the Lady Roz joining us on the show. Hello. Yes. Hello. Coming together to discuss critical matters and measures to impact humanity as a whole. The UN came into being as a result of the work of two presidents and multiple countries who placed an end to war after the fall of Nazi Germany in 1945. The world, of course, remains a complex, conflict-ridden and sometimes frightening place. However, the UN is a place to ensure that there is at least some light in the world, helping those who are persecuted, starving, or impacted by atrocities. Despite this heavy, confusing world we live in, the UN is a steadfast force, allowing all nations to come together to work towards a brighter future. Here are some facts about the United Nations, which are well worth remembering. The United Nations was founded in 1945. It is a body of 193 member nations working together for the common good. The United Nations consists of 193 sovereign states. That is membership based on the sovereign policy of equality for its members, whereby peaceful means are used to resolve disputes. Sort of school, wasn't it? Originally, the United Nations did not involve itself in domestic disputes, instead focusing on broader international issues. The United Nations is formed around 5 core entities. They're the Economic Social Council, the Security Council, the International Court of Justice, the United Nations Secretary, and the United General Assembly. Are you with me so far? Are you enjoying this? It gets more. More senior role in the United Nations is that of Secretary General. The post is generally held for 5 years, and the incumbent is appointed by the General Assembly. Secretary General of the United Nations at present is Antonio Guterres. Antonio Guterres. He took office in 2017 on New Year's Day. While there are plenty of countries who are included in the UN, several still aren't. This is largely because there are countries which have conflict with some member states. For example, Kosovo is not included in the UN. This is because there are yet to be a majority vote agreeing that the state actually exists. The Vatican City, too, is not recognised in the United Nations member states, and this is thought to be a result of a religious conflict. The UN helps provide food to starving people all over the world. It's thought to help more than 91 million people across 83 different countries and counting. The UN is based in New York in the US. However, there are three major satellite offices for the UN in Geneva, Switzerland, Nairobi, Kenya, and Vienna, Australia. The UN was formed after World War II, I've said that already, and was built to promote social progress, to maintain peace, security, and to protect human rights. The United Nations has all of the 193 member nations represented in its General Assembly. This is the main forum for decision making. Every opinion counts. Every year, an annual conference is held in New York at UNHQ, where members suggest targets, setbacks, and other challenges for the year ahead. Subjects for consideration at the General Assembly are varied. War zones, climate change, economic concerns, and healthcare issues are all examples of current affairs which may require attention. Every member has a say at the General Assembly, taking turns to address the meeting. Each leader of a nation is allocated 15 minutes to speak. But only 15 minutes. Sometimes delegates speak beyond their allotted time. See, I was joking about that. Either accidentally or deliberately. For example, at one such meeting, Cuban President Fidel Castro spoke continuously for 4.5 hours. That's just slightly over their 15 minutes. UN is a Nobel Peace Prize winner, having received the award in 2001. However, did you know it also won an Oscar? They claimed the award for Best Documentary Short Subject back in 1947. You know, see? You didn't think it was going to be a Did You Know episode, did you? You know, yeah. The UN is responsible for extensive peacekeeping all over the world. All over the world. In fact, they are responsible for deploying at least 116,000 different forces. Delegates at the General Assembly are seated in alphabetical order. South Sudan is the latest country to join the UN as recently as 2011. The United Nations Children's Emergency Fund provides swift financial aid to children in areas struck by sudden disaster, like their local supermarket running out of transformer figures. For example, this may include areas torn apart by war or devastated by natural events such as storms and flooding. Yes, I was joking. Part of the UN, known as the World Bank, focuses on economic trends and aiding countries in financial difficulty. During the First World War, US President Woodrow Wilson had the vision to form the League of Nations. Actor, isn't it? Edward Woodward had the vision to form the League of Nations. However, the Second World War forced its attempt asunder. Later, US President Franklin D. Roosevelt worked to create a body of United Nations before the end of the Second World War, aiming to avoid such repeat of global destruction. Russia, China, the United Kingdom, and the US were the first who pledged to work together to maintain peace. That sounds like a comic joke, doesn't it? Like an English and Irish Scotsman, doesn't it? Russia, the Chineseman, and the Englishman, and the American. You know, this came to create the United Nations Charter. The entirety of the Charter, the official agreement that started it all, is around 8,778 words long. Could you imagine something to go through that and check all the spelling mistakes? The UN has a firm goal to try and erase poverty by 2030. which is only 9 years away. It's got some hard working to do in those 9 years, hasn't it? It's part of the scheme to focus on sustainability for the planet too, with dignity kept in clear focus. Next decade will prove to be pivotal. Where at the start of the UN inception, only 45 member states. This has grown massively over the years. The UN impressive peacekeeping forces actually requires little funding. It's said that they only make up 0.5% of total spent on military forces worldwide. The UN remains hugely important to the lives of millions of people. In fact, the US, around 79% of people who vote believe it is critically important. This, if nothing else, should give you a little bit of faith in humanity. And last but not least, a lot of countries have faith in the United Nations. It only takes one of the big boys, the United Kingdom, Russia, China, USA, Germany, and France, to veto or abstain on a vote, and that motion is defeated. Not very democratic, in my opinion. It's not really, is it? One person saying no, then that's it. So, that is the United Nations. I said that as a shorty, so that's just a tip of today's show. Today's show. Now, go on to the main event. The history of the Illuminate. It's a short timeline in history. If I was to do the long version, I'd be talking for about 7.5 hours. A short timeline and history of the Illuminati. Illuminati! The Illuminati, along with other secret societies like Freemasons, were seen as subversive in the late 18th century, due in large part to the influence of the Roman Catholic Church. Since then, the idea of the Illuminati has come to be associated with any secret organization that proclaims to have links with the original society. Though in many cases, these links are substantiated. Yes, that word as well. The Illuminati is a name given to several groups, both real and fictitious. Historically, the name usually refers to the Bavarian Illuminati. And then, is that annoying you yet? An Enlightenment era secret society founded on the 1st of May 1776 in Bavaria, today part of Germany. The society's goals were to oppose superstition, obscuration, whatever that means, religious influence over public life, and abuses of state power. The order of the day, they wrote in their general statutes, is to put an end to the machination, these are long words, aren't they, of the perverse of injustice, to control them without dominating them. The Illuminati, along with Freemasonry and other secret societies, were outlawed through edict by Charles Theodore, Elector of Bavaria, with the encouragement of the Catholic Church in 1784, 85, 87, and 90. In the following several years, the group was vilified by conservative and religious critics who claimed they were continued underground and responsible for the French Revolution. The idea of the Illuminati can be traced to the writings of a wealthy, well-connected, and highly eccentric Bavarian intellectual named Jean Adam Weishaupt, 1748 to 1830, who believed that he had the power to create a secret society that could rule the world. But many of his contemporaries believed him, and that many conspiracy theorists still do, is a testament to the power of his legacy. Now we get to the timeline part. In 1773, Jean Adam Weishaupt, I'll pronounce his name, but it's German, I can't pronounce it, becomes a professor. Ingolstadt, an unusual honour for a layperson. In 1776, taking on the name Brother Spartacus, he must be a fan of the movie, Wishes forms a secret society called the Order of the Illuminati, also known as the Order of the Perfectionists. In 1777, 1777, Wishes becomes a Freemason and begins to advocate illuminate Freemasonry. He describes it thusly: I have, I have contrived a system which possesses every advantage. It attracts Christians of every communion, gradually frees them from all religious prejudices, cultivates the social virtues, and animates them by great speed. Like this is just me doing it for your benefit, you know. Feasible and speedy prospect of universal happiness in the state of liberty and moral equality, freed from the obstacles of an obstacle course which subnortation, and we did see obstacle course, that was me, subnotion, the equalities of rank and wealth continually thrown in our way. This is a great object held out by this association, and the means of attaining it is illumination. You talked to Illuminati then, didn't you? Enlightening the understanding by the sun of reason, which will dispel the clouds of superstition and prejudice. Christians of disorder are therefore justly called illuminated. Now, while Freemasonry provided Washington with this sort of private social network that he needed to spread his doctrine on the Illuminati, he would also relieve many see a connection between the illuminated Freemasonry and Freemasonry as a whole. One that would place Freemasonry at the center of conspiracy theories for centuries to come. In 1782, the United States government adopts the Eye of Providence as part of the Great Seal, accompanied by the Latin text Novus Ordo Seclorum, often translated as the New World Order. New World Order. And you'll know, if you're a WCW fan, you'll know where that comes from. Because of the historical connection between Freemasonry and the Eye of Providence. Then recent emergence of illuminated Freemasonry, some conspiracy theorists are taking this to mean that Illuminati has some kind of formative role in United States history. There is no meaningful evidence to support this theory. Now, in 1785, Carl Theodore, that's a decent pronounceable name, banned secret societies, driving Wusha and the Illuminati further underground. Exiled to Germany, Adam Wish, you know who I'm all about. Adam Wish writes the first of 12 volumes about illuminism. He would go on to write 27 volumes of philosophy in all. In 1797, Austin Burroughs, illustrating the history of Jacobitism, claimed that secret societies played an instrumental role in the French Revolution, and points to the Illuminati as a corrupting influence. In 1798, John Robertson's Proofs of Conspiracy further articulates the anti-Illuminati conspiracy theory. A letter to the Reverend James Madison, not to be confused with the founding father of the same name, Thomas Jefferson, dismisses the anti-Illuminati conspiracy theories and paints Wish bloke as a utopian idealist in the tradition of William Godwin. 1830, Wish that bloke died, having outlived most public traces of illuminism as a movement, fear of illuminism, and a suspicion that Wish, some invisible way succeeding in taking over the Western world, would live on for centuries to come. The Illuminati designation, in use for the 15th century, assumed by or applied to various groups of persons who claim to be usually enlightened. The word is the plural of the Latin illuminatus, revealed or enlightened. So that is the timeline of the Illuminante. Now, if you've enjoyed that, let me know, because I can go into more detail about how all this Illuminante done. More specific details. There was just a timeline of the Illuminante. The Illuminante! And there's Ross playing peekaboo at work there. I can't see it. Now you can. Now you can't see it. Now you can. And she's trying not to laugh. Can't see me. Yes, I've seen a preference there. Ooh, yes. So please tell me what you think of those two subjects. Please let me know. I'll try to make them sound fun and interesting by shouting out Illuminati. So tell me what you think. Let me know what you think. Now, let's get straight to it. If you've enjoyed if you enjoyed the show, if you have enjoyed it, please hit the thumbs up button. And if you haven't done so already, and you'd like to see some more of my stuff, just subscribe to my channel. And 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 when you do, ring that bell as well, and that way you'll know when the videos are coming out. On that note, have a fantastic weekend. If you watch this on a Saturday, if you watch this after Sunday, I hope you had a nice weekend. I'll see you guys next week when we'll be talking about not the film, but the Men in Black. Yes, we're talking about Men in Black. Ooh, awesome. Chunga, my friends, or Chippelob even, long word. Chippelob, until next time, this is Trev the Rev signing off. Until next time, I ain't no vicar. Bye bye. Yes, I said the wrong smacking word.